Hey everybody, good to see you again, and I'm glad you're with me. This week I've decided to switch gears a little bit and look at 1 and 2 family subdivisions and sections in the fire code that are applicable to 1 and 2 family subdivisions. If you're not involved in your city's planning process, I hope that today tells you how important that is to be a part of it. This allows you to get in early on these subdivisions and insert your influence. I hope that you enjoy this week, and I hope that you will come back with questions and concerns that you have related to this topic. If you look here to the right, you'll see a section from the International Fire Code, Appendix D, more specifically Section D107. And here you'll see that if you have a 1 or 2 family subdivision with over 30 dwelling units, then 2 fire department entry points are required. And those access roads must meet the requirements of Chapter 5 and Appendix D of the International Fire Code. We'll get into these sections as we move forward. There is an exception to the redundant fire department access road requirements when there are over 30 dwelling units in a subdivision, and that is if every dwelling in the subdivision is sprinkled by an approved fire sprinkler system. If they choose not to sprinkle all buildings within that subdivision, then the requirements for 2 remote fire department access roads are required. As mentioned earlier, if there are over 30 dwelling units in a subdivision, 2 approved fire apparatus access roads are required. And they must meet the remoteness requirement of half the diagonal of the subdivision, as shown on the right. So I've drawn a red line with a mark in the middle that shows my halfway point. That is the distance apart that those 2 access roads have to be. So for this subdivision, I would be looking for that access road, that second one, to be in that area in blue. This is a great example of a developer complying with the code requirements. As you can see, he's got 25 lot subdivision, and there's 1 fire department access point. Each of their turnarounds within the subdivision meet the requirements of Appendix D, and there's no reason that they would have to have a second access point because they're less than 30. So this would be an approved plat if I was looking at the entry point requirements. Example number 2 shows a 63 lot subdivision with 2 fire apparatus access roadways that meet the remoteness requirement. There's one in the bottom left shown with the arrow, and there's one at the top right shown with the arrow. The one in the top right looks like a performance measure that we would have to verify that was at least 20 foot wide, all weather, and met the imposed loads of our trucks. Regardless, they have the 2 remote access roadways as required for having over 30 dwellings. An important thing to note is that Appendix D in the fire code can only be utilized if it's specifically adopted. So open up your fire code, go to Appendix D, and look at the very top. And it says the provisions contained in this appendix are not mandatory unless specifically referenced in the adopting ordinance or legislation of the jurisdiction. So how has the State Fire Marshal's Office looked at this section? In November of 2016, they adopted the 2015 edition of the International Fire Code. And in that adopted ordinance, I looked and I saw that Section D107 of Appendix D is not adopted, but is recommended. Know that we can be more stringent than the state, and I don't know what their reasons were for not specifically adopting that section, but just be aware of that. So what are your thoughts on Section D107 in the International Fire Code? Are you using it specifically in your jurisdiction? How is it helping you? I know for me that redundant access roads into large subdivisions is important for us in response. If something compromises one, we know we have the other. So I'd love to hear from you and know how this is working for you. I look forward to talking to you guys again next week.